As can be expected regarding Icon for Hire, the debut single to their newly announced album, The Reckoning, I'm still kind of surprised by how quick the turnaround was. I expected within a 2 to 3 year time period we get another album, not 1 to 2, although I wouldn't wish it for later. Make that very clear. I feel that Ready for Combat set a good entrance for what will be, I'm sure, another solid release, which I'm sure for those of you who have been fans of Icon for Hire for long enough, maybe from Scripted on, as I've been, although I kind of boast when I say this, I've been a longtime fan for enough time to remember when their first debut music video for Make a Move arrived at number 2 on the iTunes charts. Like, from the minute they came on the scene, they really just had a solid impression. Ever since then, they've maintained it. Ready for Combat, though, as to be expected, was a solid debut for The Reckoning, which has I like the name, and the image for the art, familiar styling, although it's far more aggressive, its tone. Although the track listing kind of makes me think that it follows a path of what Icon for Hire has done in recent albums with more of a mixture of genres. They play around a bit. I mean, rock is sort of their foundation that was really present within Scripted, but they've played around. They've done some hip-hop stuff, some softer ballad songs, some rap tones even. But, I think for the most part, again, they've maintained that consistency with rock. I feel like this new album, though, again, is going to follow previous albums like Amorphous, You Can't Kill Us, and even their self-titled album, their second one, and mix around with certain genres. But Ready for Combat had that rock debut, and it was an absolute treat to cover them for the first time on this channel, letting that be the first time I've ever mentioned Icon for Hire. Yeah, it's not really the first time. I did cover them like years past, but in terms of covering their music and some of their newer singles, I've wanted to talk about Icon for Hire for a very long time. And for those of you who might be newer viewers to the channel, I tend to cover, a wide variety of content, but primarily within like the visual format, whether it be not as much music. It hasn't been that way. I tend to cover cinema, television. For those of you maybe longtime viewers, of course you know this. I've expanded to other markets as well with gaming. Music for me has been a first love, and I think the strongest out of all of them. And I've wanted to bring more into this channel in the way of music and favorite groups of mine in regard to new stuff. Icon for Hire has been a very inspirational band over the many years I've listened to them, not only because of their sound, but just their story, and I think their overall impression. I have a deep respect and reverence for this particular band, and it's been very exciting for me to finally be able to bring them onto the channel. So of course I'm excited when it comes to new music. And to repeat the experience of Ready for Combat, I'm going to listen to this track with you guys for the first time. Dismantled. I got the lyrics pulled up as well, and of course I'll pull those up for your convenience, but it's a new music video for The Reckoning, which now I don't think it was titled that originally when the first track debuted. I think that was declared with this new track. But either way, I'm excited for new music. I can't wait to see the style they bring in here. Let's go ahead and give another watch to Icon for Hire. I'm so excited. New music out of my playlist. Not to suggest I find my playlist to be overly mundane. Like, I've got a lot of song highlights from many different groups, but I like to spice things up with some new stuff. And Icon for Hire, of course, I've really loved their tracks overall from every one of their albums, and I would absolutely love the opportunity to widen the library. It's always a treat. Without further ado, I'm going to cue this up, and we can enjoy this together, us members of the Icon Army. All right. It's always a pleasure. I love this group. Here we go. Dismantled. Good bass to the track here.
I'm skin on the moon. You like to watch me fade.
That's a nice electronic beat coming in. It's snare.
Still holding on. Won't tell you how I hate.
I like the energy of her vocals, and the slower pace too is great.
Just one thing left to do. Got nothing left for you.
Oh, building a... Ooh, that's a nice background guitar riff.
Take my heart. Go ahead and strip me for parts. Pieces have gone missing. No survival instinct. It's my life. Let's use it up one more time.
Oh, I like the song. The lyrics are really good message.
I'll survive dismantled.
Ah, that's good.
Gone as a ghost. My suffering is wasted.
Her vocals really shine here.
I stay composed.
Ariel is a very strong
But
singer.
underneath the
A lot of talent. And always really cool fashion.
just one thing left to do. Got nothing left
Ah, that build. Ah, good. Anybody else hear the Pieces part? I know it fits into the lyrics. I'm like, I don't know. I get flashbacks to Pieces. It's a longtime favorite song of mine. Scripted flashbacks. It's a great song. Oh, it's good. I guess I feel like the variance of pacing actually, because again, the majority of the song is a little slower. It's nice. Well, the beat's good and it's stable, but the vocal pacing. I'm really getting pumped with their album. It kind of follows this path. Great energy. Nice, and just continues on. I was like, I wonder if it's going to end on her vocals, but... Although I'll tell you, it's kind of similar in terms of the video depiction. I mean, again, Ariel is just such a good performer. I love watching her. Her music videos are, well, her and Sean and just the entire group, they're always a lot of fun. But I think, Ready for Combat was interesting. Like, I didn't take Ariel for a wrestler there. I also didn't take her for, like, a Harley Davidson girl. Those are Harleys. I don't know exactly. I'm not a motorcycle expert, but, just kind of hidden talents and hidden hobbies, I guess. But it's a good energy to the track. A lot of fun. Good tone overall. And again, I like the variance of pacing. Largely, I mean, again, it's got a very consistent, slower beat to it. You can hear that foundation. And it builds quite nicely where it goes through. But I liked how after the second chorus with that verse, she quickened up the pace of the lyrics. It just, again, I think it was a very nice blend, and it fit well in the mixture of the song. And as it's consistent with a very strong tune, in my opinion. Again, that score is solid. You also have very strong lyrics. If this is the first impression for you in terms of Icon for Hire, I hope you enjoyed that song, and I would highly recommend going and listening to some of their previous works if you're not familiar with the group. I would definitely start with Scripted, and I would work my way up. Again, all 4 albums previously have been really solid. I've been a fan for all the years I think that they've been around, really. Well, maybe not necessarily. Again, they came on the scene with Scripted, namely because, again, that's when their music video arrived. That's how I became more familiar with them. Other than they were highlighted at a Christian music festival like years past, and because I saw their name there, when I saw their name on the iTunes charts, I was like, okay, I recognize that name. I'm going to go give them a listen. That's how I kind of re-entered. But I knew they did like an EP in advance when they first debuted. But one thing that you can commonly expect of Icon for Hire, if you're not familiar, are very strong lyrics in terms of the writing. I mean, again, their songs are so much fun to listen to. They're very engaging, very well crafted, and just really enjoyable pieces of art and just entertainment too overall. But their lyrics always have a very strong impression that really sits with you. Maybe this song in particular, reading the lyrics, again, well written, bit less direct in comparison to some of their other previous songs, but I mean, again, Icon for Hire, like I was saying, for those of you who may not be familiar, has been a band that I've long respected, largely because they really dig down deep to the heart of their fans, and just for the general person out there who might be looking for some sort of resonance, or deeper understanding. But I've really respected this group since they arrived on the scene, and largely after it's grown consistently, especially after when they went independent. In their formative years, they were with Tooth and Nail, which is a major Christian, or at least they've been that's how they were referred to the past few years. They've carried a lot of well-known Christian groups, but they were a major record label. That's where Icon for Hire started, and that remained with them, I believe, until their second album, and then they parted ways after. And after a bit of a hiatus, which you've talked about, in terms of their story, again, my respect for this group is really deep. But when they came back on the scene, and they had been, pretty strong again in their writing with the previous 2 albums, their self-titled one especially, Icon for Hire has really never been afraid to go in certain places where other groups might not be as blunt, or might feel perhaps lyrics have to be written with more of a voice and touch of ambiguity. Icon for Hire has not been that way. Again, maybe someone's a bit less direct in terms of the writing pertaining to the message that the song seeks to drive towards. But they have other songs, like, again, when they arrived on the scene, or re-arrived, with Now You Know. That song still, it just sits with me as like, this is such a strong, like, hey, we're back again. And you're like, yeah, you really make an impression when the first song you unveil when you return on the fold is talking about objectification of women in the music industry. I'm like, that's again, like, what a way to set a message. An Icon for Hire, I've long respected them because, again, of that boldness in their assertion. Even necessarily, again, I know Icon for Hire doesn't refer to themselves, from my understanding, maybe that's changed over time, I don't know, but they didn't refer to themselves, at least when they started, as a Christian group, because they wanted, if I understood this right, they wanted to be more broad in their appeal. And to a degree, I can understand that. That's why I kind of refer to them as Christian adjacent, because they're you can extrapolate their messages and find parallels with, Christian theology and teaching, just to what they're writing towards. But they are very popular within Christian circles. I've been a fan of them for a long time, partly because of that. Again, Tooth and Nail, that was a major Christian record label, years ago. I would imagine it's probably still consistent to this day. Although I think if you look at a couple of their tracks, they seem to go a bit more mainstream from what I've seen. But Icon for Hire has always left a very solid impression when it comes to the lyrics. It's not just about the music. I mean, the music's fun, the music's enjoyable, but the lyrics add a lot more depth to the song. And this is, true here as well. There are shades of this where, again, overall, it's really good writing. And again, the pacing of the way this is illustrated in the song of her vocals is excellent. But it's just, it's still, it gets to the heart of things in terms of, and I would imagine this is a very similar emotion for many people like myself within the Icon army or fans of Icon for Hire. There's an understanding of humanity that oftentimes, this is why I love music, in comparison to other forms of art. I mean, all different art forms are different, right? Movies communicate a message in a way that books can't, or music can't, or even as somebody who has an 18-year history of being a dancer, dance is a very different form of artistic expression. Everything illustrates its messages in different ways and has a different impact on the individual when consuming said art. And for me, music has just been such a potent aspect of my life because it touches on things that perhaps aren't at the time necessary to process, but you can't find that resonance within other artistic forms like you would listening to a track and hearing an artist really speak from their heart with oftentimes a beautiful accompaniment of some, sound construction. I read the lyrics here, and again, I hear the heart of the artist. And again, I see certain parallels and perhaps where you could extrapolate the message. I think it's kind of an open-ended song in terms of the way you could identify with it. I could see different ways that people come to this song and be like, this relates to me in this aspect of my life, or this trial or circumstance in this particular manner. But it's just overall very well written. Take my heart, go ahead and strip me for parts. And pieces have gone missing. Still, I read that lyric and I know it's like, well, it fits into the tone of the piece. I'm like, I hear that. I'm like, okay, pieces. Very strong song. If you've not, again, been a familiar audience for Icon for Hire before, this is the first listen for you. Again, I would highly recommend listening to their past work, including Pieces, which there's a good cover for that, by the way, that I heard of I think it was an orchestra setup. But it's a really strong song. But again, I hear that. I'm like, that's just, it was a great piece of art. But even just the message, even later, again, their writing just, it's still expressed from that strength. I send my regards, you can keep the resentment. I'll never forget you now, but I've learned my lesson. Spend the rest of my lifetime trying to unlearn your lies. I can see, again, many different ways that this could apply to people. And there are songs that perhaps, again, with Icon for Hire, they write songs that are more direct, they write songs that are more indirect, and perhaps are more universal in the way that they can be interpreted. Some music is pretty open-ended, and it makes her perhaps, again, the direct music is great, but perhaps even the open-ended in the ways that you can personally analyze it to best immerse with your story and explain things and work through and process your life and your thoughts and your observations. It can make for even deeper and I think richer experience. That's how I feel with Dismantled. Good song overall and good lyrical construction. Very familiar and as to be expected of Icon for Hire. It's an ever strong debut. That's always been the case with them. I can't wait to listen to any new music they've got coming up in the future. I'm sure, like Amorphous, there were a lot of singles that were released in anticipation for that album. I think 5 total. Curse Cure, Seeds, Brittle, Blackheart, and Last One Standing. I think those were the 5 that were released in anticipation. I would suspect that Dismantled and Ready for Combat are not the only singles that will be coming out first. I think there's probably going to be many more singles that come out in anticipation of the album. I forget how long it is. I think it's like 13 tracks or so. So it's still pretty good length. I think Amorphous was 14. In this album, I did see it's got a couple interludes, so it's kind of like more so 10 tracks, I think, if it was 13. But still, solid arrival, solid debut. Can't wait for a new Icon for Hire album. But what are your guys' thoughts, especially for those of you who perhaps are new Icon for Hire listeners based on this song? Do you find them to be maybe perhaps a group that you want to venture more to? For those of you who are longtime Icon for Hire fans, you feel that this compares to their past work. And, how would you rank so far the singles? I would say, I liked Ready for Combat, but I kind of like this one a bit more, in my opinion. Dismantled seems just a bit stronger in terms of the musical structure. Just in my opinion. But feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. I will, of course, be covering Icon for Hire in the future on this channel should new singles debut. As well as, I've been making mention of, I will be starting a channel that's more music specific. Because as I've stated, I want to be able to talk about music more broadly on my channel ventures. And while this one's going to remain more reaction and first time listen based, I have another channel coming out hopefully at the beginning of the new year. I'm trying to work out getting it ready, but it's going to be called Symphonies and Small Talk, and it's going to allow me to touch on groups that have been a long time staple in my life, whether it be from a creative talent or from music that's really impressed itself on me in terms of its message and its effect on my life. Icon for Hire, because they've released a wide body of work at this point, will be making an appearance on that channel, as well as many other groups I've listened to over time. It's going to allow me to get in touch on good art and culture within the music space. I'm very excited for the channel to debut. So if you're a fan of Icon for Hire and you're more interested in maybe getting some of my thoughts, maybe some of their past work, be in anticipation that channel is coming down the road. But for those of you who this is a fresh listen to the band, again, as I said, go back and listen to some of their past works. I highly recommend any of their albums. I've really loved this group over time. Dismantled is another solid entry to a band that I think universally has delivered some really good work. And I'm very excited to see the future of this band going forward. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.